Welcome to Wisdom Journey, the podcast where I share the real, behind the scenes story of building an online business and growing as a content creator. I am Wisdom Okonkwo, and this is my journey. From wins to setbacks, lessons to breakthroughs, each episode is a raw, honest look at what it really takes to build something from scratch in the digital world. Let's dive in. You worked with everyone, right? From sales pros to cybersecurity experts. What surprised you most about the mental struggles of content creators? This is William Wacker, a mental resilience and performance coach who helps high performance overcome stress, burnout, and self sabotage with a background in high pressure industries like sales and cybersecurity. William knows firsthand what it's like to succeed on the outside while struggling silently on the inside. After hitting his own breaking points, he rebuilt his life using positive intelligence, transforming not just how he walked, but how he lived. Now he empowers others to do the same powerful mindset shifts and practical tools. If you're feeling overwhelmed or just one step away from burnout, this conversation could be the turning point.
I think people have no idea what they're getting into. I think it's quite a shock when you're trying to establish yourself as a small business owner, entrepreneur, and with your content. But I think as time goes on, it becomes easier to write the content because you learn to trust yourself more. Once you start trusting yourself and finding your inner voice, then it becomes considerably easier. But at the very beginning, it's really hard to try to stand out.
You've been open about hitting rock bottom. What was the moment you realized burnout wasn't just a part of the grind?
When I started having serious consequences, I was able to get by without consequences for a long time, but then had a couple incidents at work that were a little embarrassing. I then started to struggle with my family at home, in particular my daughter. And then once I got kicked out of the house for the first and then obviously the last time, it sunk in that I had known I had issues before, but it's amazing how it catches up to you so quickly and how things can quickly just unravel. So I had a series of episodes that really had me unravel, and then I got divorced. But it was after I finally got sober because I was basically going to die. I had pancreatitis 3 times. And that just tells you what the power of alcoholism is. It just tells you how powerful that disease is a mental disease that even though you're dying and you know it and you're killing yourself and you know it, that you do it anyway. And I think it was that realization that I just couldn't do it anymore. But it became it's one thing to quit drinking and it's another to live and learn how to live without drinking and living what you call a sober lifestyle or just surrendering completely. And I ended up just on a journey basically for a couple of years to try to find happiness. And I discovered more about myself and discovered something called positive intelligence, which I took to, we have a saying in the United States, I took to a duck like water and it just fit me very naturally. And it's my mission to, as somebody said today, take people from feeling crappy to happy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing that it took you to go through a near-death experience for you to realign your priority and actually make decisions that are actually serving you and not against
Yeah, I think for real change to occur, you have to really go through a lot of struggle and have some scars and go through adversity and come out of that and just learn from that. And does everybody like to go through adversity? No. But you're going to go through it and it's just how you handle it and it's just how you mentally handle it. And because the mind is such a powerful thing, And we only are beginning to understand how powerful the mind is. And it's just, it's like anything with exercise for your muscles to get bigger or at least stay toned and such, you got to work at it. And your mind is the same thing. You have to work on your mind, and it just doesn't happen overnight. So I think people also have to be patient and do the work when they're trying to improve their mental well-being.
Yeah. So quickly, the questions I want to be asking now, they'll be about the topic of the episode. The thing about burnout is that a lot of creators experience it. Why is it that content creators like they experience burnout like really, really compared to other professions?
Cybersecurity it's become very stressful just because of you basically, if you make a mistake, your company could be gone.
Yeah.
And then also you may not only lose your job, but sometimes you could get prosecuted. And it has been quite a few years for CISOs. It's a very challenging, tough role that basically, if you're brought up or you're known, then you're probably in trouble. The best CISO is a silent CISO, unless they love doing speaking engagements and such. But it's a very stressful job because literally, if you have a breach, your company could be shut down and done. And
Yeah.
so CISOs are hired to be fired. If you
Hmm.
talk to one, that's going to be what they say. There's, I don't, exceptional CISOs not working. And so they do speaking engagements as well, but I try to reach them as well because I'm not a technical person, but I was in cybersecurity sales and IT sales for 30 years and was very successful in cybersecurity sales, but it's also the most stressful sales job I ever had as well. And you're hired and you have within basically 6 months, you got to prove yourself and make sales or you're pretty much out the door as well. And that's just not a healthy way to live.
Yeah. The pressure is a lot, honestly.
It's a lot. And it mental health, it's where do these people go? You can go to counseling, but that's going to get you put on a record, and maybe that's going to affect your life insurance because I've known a number of people that's happened to. You're not going to talk to anybody at work about your stress because that could get back to somebody that you don't want it to, unfortunately, and that happens all
Yeah.
the time. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I want somebody to know that I've been in the worst of situations. I get what they're doing. I understand the stress and struggles, and I know how to get them out of it. And so that's why I decided to do what I'm doing. I just don't like seeing people suffer in silence and feel like they have nowhere to go and don't have an outlet. And that's why I'm here. And that's what my mission in life is, to have a vehicle for these people to get help and also take what they're going through and grow from it.
Yeah. Could you share with us some of the early warning signs of burnout?
Wow, there's a lot. There's obviously not sleeping right, just irritable, edgy, not motivated, just depressed, really concerned for the future, just feel stuck. That's the one thing I hear, stuck. And then doing things that aren't good for you to cope, such as just drinking and going out and maybe gambling, but just unhealthy lifestyle, not healthy eating. And those are all signs of burnout.
Okay, as we progress, you would expand on some of the signs. But one would say, how does comparison culture, that is a situation where people get to compare themselves with other persons, how affects or lead to burnout?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
The question I ask is, how does comparison culture make burnout worse? Comparison, that is the where people get to compare themselves with other persons.
Oh, yeah, comparison. You're trying to there's a saying here, keep up with the Joneses. I got caught up in that for a number of years and it wasn't trying to outdo people. It was trying to at least stay equal. And it's like the dumbest thing ever. As you get older, you learn that those things really don't mean anything. So it's all in your head. That's one of the things that I learned is that when you're competing with others for a better car or better something, that just says a lot about where your values are. And it says a lot about where your priorities are. So that is the nature of things in the United States. It's a very hardworking culture. We don't have many vacations and such, but that leads to burnout as well. And it also brings havoc into the family as well, because then your family members feel like they have to compete. And that's certainly not healthy.
Yeah. A lot of persons, they say they have burnout when in actual sense they are suffering from something else. Could you like tell us the difference between stress, burnout, and sabotage?
Oh, okay. Stress is what your body is under when it's not feeling like it's got everything handled. You typically get stressed when you're not prepared, don't feel in control of your emotions, feel like things are stacking up against you. Self sabotage is when, and I did this a lot, it's just you're scared of success and what that means and the responsibility of success. And once you succeed, having to succeed again and again, which puts a whole number of pressures on you. So you start doing things subconsciously without even being aware of it to harm yourself, like missing meetings or not doing the best job on the proposal, that you left stuff out because you just didn't feel like doing it, or that's what you're telling yourself. Or once again, you're drinking too much and you blow it. That's self sabotage. But I really do believe it comes from fear of success, which I know doesn't make sense, but it is definitely a factor. And I'm sorry, what was the other one?
Burnout. Stress,
Burn,
burnout,
burn.
and self-sabotage.
So then burnout is obviously the next step after stress. And that's what I described earlier, that you're just a mess, that you're having a lot of trouble focusing. You're having a lot of trouble being motivated, getting out of bed, feeling lethargic, and just feel like you don't want to do anything. And that's burnout. It's like you just need time away. You need time off. You just need to. That's why when people get burned out, a lot of their managers say, I want you to go away. I want you to go away without your laptop. I don't want you to take your phone. I want you to just get out. So that's typically what you do when somebody's burned out. They just need a mental reset.
You talked about when you explained the difference between stress, burnout, and self-sabotage. You talk about the fear of success. That sounds strange. Like we all want to succeed. What would lead to someone being afraid of succeeding to the extent that they unconsciously sabotage themselves?
As you said, there's no doubt about it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen all the time. People are scared of success because they don't know how to handle success. They haven't been successful before. And when they're successful, it just brings a whole new set of responsibilities. Now you're expected to be always successful. You're actually expected to be better than you were before. And in our culture, it's what have you done for me lately? So when you stand out, it nerves a lot of people and they don't like it. And although they like the money that comes with it, they don't necessarily like the attention that comes with it. And that's why a lot of people sabotage themselves by drinking, is because they just can't handle the stress of being successful. Does that make sense now?
Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah. Does perfectionism have a role to play in burnout?
I would say it's back to some of the points I made earlier, is that when you're in a high stress job and you've got to have every detail covered and right, and it's mentally exhausting. I always wondered how people could be exhausted and be in a desk job all day. Now I know it's actually even
Yeah.
more than doing labor. because your mind is just so fried and you're under so much pressure and you have all these distractions and you have all these people coming at you and wanting your time, but you've got to be correct. You've got to have that proposal nailed. You got to have every number nailed. You have to have every sentence grammatically correct. And that's a lot of pressure. And when you do that for a few days, it's okay. But when you do it every day, it adds up and adds up. And if you don't have an outlet like exercise or something that takes your mind off of it, meditation, if you're not doing any of these things, it's going to lead to burnout much more quickly.
What role does loneliness and isolation play in creator burnout?
That's a great question. And I would say the answer to that is you don't have an outlet. A lot of people can be surrounded by family and still be lonely. And the reason that they're lonely is because they don't feel like they can talk to their family about it. And they don't feel like they understand what they are going through. And in many cases, especially as a father and a husband, you don't want to make your kids concerned. You don't want to worry them about you. You're one of the leaders of the family along with the mother, and your job is to protect the kids and make them feel secure. And that's how it can be very lonely at the top, they say. So, yeah, that can further lead to burnout as well, because if you hold things in, it just causes more stress, and then your body, all this negative energy have anywhere to go. So then it's just going to start to affect your health and not in a good way.
So you're saying that as much as possible, we should have an outlet to rest, relax.
Exercise, right? Drinking a lot of water, but quieting the mind. And that's what I teach people to do, is quiet the mind with meditation, also some mental exercises that I provide, and it works very well.
Yeah, I'd love for you to walk us through what's your non-negotiable rest rule for high performance.
What's my non-negotiable
Mm,
rest rule? I've got to get at least 6 hours of sleep, preferably 8. And I have to do at least 2 meditation sessions a day, because if I don't, I'm not right. And it's just 2 20-minute sessions of meditation a day just to clear the mind. And also, when I do that, then I tend to think more clearly and thoughts come to me more readily.
Okay. Yeah, as a creator, right? Most of my audience, your content creators, most of them, they have the consistency where they have there's a kind of like a calendar, a deadline where they have to post maybe every week or twice every week. How do they balance being consistent and yet not being overworked?
So I'll let you in on a secret. Content for me is usually reserved for about a half a day, and it's usually on the weekend. And I usually do it early in the morning when I'm inspired, when good ideas come to me, and that's usually really early. So on Saturdays, typically that's when I write all my content and then I schedule it. And then I'll do the videos as well. And what I do is I have a content calendar, and I like to at least post 3 times a week, at least, and do 2 videos a week at least. And I have that as a content calendar, but more often than not, I'll have a post for every day and maybe even a video every other day. And then I do that on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Consistency is the key to get a following. And I usually try to stick with a theme for a week or two. Like one week it'd be saboteurs, the things that get in our way, what they are. Just talk about every different one of them. Another week could be more about our sage powers, which is the positive mindset I'm teaching people. And then another week could be just talking about positive intelligence and the importance of it in the workforce. So usually try to stick with a theme, and how I get inspired is just every day listening, being open, being aware, and thinking of ways I can help people, and just hearing somebody say something and be like, that's a really good idea. I think I going to write about that. Do you mind? And they're usually flattered and they're like, go for it.
Yeah. So I like the fact that you have systems in place that kind of assist you and help you to create content. How does one shift from I have to post to I get to create?
I love that you said that, actually. You don't want to say, I have to freaking do a post or I have to do a post. No, it's I get to do a post. I have the ability to be able to do these things. I get to reach out to people with the right message. It's all in the mind. It's all how you program your mind and how you talk to yourself. Instead of saying that, man, I'm going to blow this, or I am going to kill it today. I'm going to provide the best freaking presentation ever. It's just always positively reaffirming in yourself. The other thing that's really helpful is manifestation as far as writing things down that you want to accomplish. I've found that's instead of typing it or saying it, just writing it down. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the 369 method or 369 from Nikola Tesla, but it's a manifestation exercise where you write what you want to do. Say, I want to make $1 million. You write that 3 times in the morning, and then you write it 6 times during the middle of the day and 9 times at night or before you go to bed. And you do that for 50 days. And it's amazing to see what you have accomplished or can accomplish.
Wow. Quick break. If you're enjoying this episode and want more behind the scenes content, make sure you subscribe to my free newsletter. The link is in the show notes. It's where I share exclusive insights, tools I use, and weekly updates from my journey that I don't post anywhere else. Back to the episode. You talk about earlier on, you made a short statement about the positive intelligence framework. What is this framework and how can creators use this framework?
So the positive intelligence framework, just in a nutshell, that how people understand is that essentially our brains are pre-programmed to keep us alive. Many of the things that were pre-programmed in our brain to keep us alive, we don't need them anymore. They taught us to be always on guard because your life depended on it. So that's how we got all these what we call saboteurs, and I have many of them. I would love to take anybody that's listening through the list of all of them, and I certainly have plenty of information I can share and we can get on a call. But essentially, you've got 10, and each person at least 2 to 3 at a high rate. Mine happened to be something called the pleaser, hyper achiever, and victim. Everyone also one called the judge. We're all judging everybody and everything. What we teach in positive intelligence is to have people shift that negative thinking about themselves into more of a positive mindset. We also do that by doing some simple exercises that involve rubbing your forefinger and thumb together, touching your toes on the floor, and concentrating on these things while you're in the midst of some stress or discomfort, or you feel like you need to focus. That's what we call PQ exercises. And we do them. I can do them up to half an hour, but usually we start with 3 minutes per exercise. And it's unbelievable how it calms your mind down. If you really focus on it and just concentrate on it when you're in the midst of stress, like just for instance, rubbing your thumb and finger together. This is not video, but I can talk more about it at another session. But just doing that and concentrating on that versus what you're going through, it's going to clear your mind. And it's also about deep breathing, box breathing, which I also do during any of these. And I also teach my clients. It's breathing in for 5 seconds and then holding it for 5 seconds and then breathing out for 5 seconds and then repeating that process. And that's automatically going to affect your nervous system in a calming fashion.
Yeah, I love the framework you shared, honestly. For me, one of the things that burnout is both internal and external pressure, right? And we talked about some of the internal pressure, you talked about some of the mindset shift and all that, right? But as a creator, one of the struggle a creator might have is they get comments. So the question I want to ask is, what's the best way to deal with comments emotionally?
I ignore it and I also welcome it. because I know that at least people are responding. I know people are reading that information, and everybody's entitled to opinions. Doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean they're right. I don't like it when people have to be mean spirited, but it just says a lot about them as an individual. What you got to tell yourself as a creator is that these are just words. And you got to tell yourself that. And once you finally figure that out, that, hey, this isn't physical abuse, they're just words. And I don't even know this person, and they're taking time to attack me. It just says a lot about them and not you. And then once you just accept that they're just words and then approach it from a different fashion and kind of laugh at it, that's how I handle it. I really thought at the beginning that was going to be a big thing with me, that I wouldn't be able to handle people criticizing me or ripping me or saying something like that. And what's really funny is it turned out to be the exact opposite. I actually welcome it. Maybe it's that nature in me, but I'm like, bring it on. It's just your thoughts and your opinion. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. And I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Thank you so much for sharing how you deal with haters and throw comments online. One of the dilemma creators face is, how do we know when to push through versus when to rest? I can see your cat joined us on the podcast meeting. How do we know when to push through versus when to rest?
You learn to trust your body. You learn to listen to your body. And if your body is, you really have to be in touch with your body. And the way to do that is just awareness and taking stock of how you're feeling. But I'm telling you, it's not that hard. If you feel like you've got a heavy chest and your chest is hurting and you're having significant stomach ache and you've got cramps, you got to take a step back and relax. What you have to tell yourself is, how effective are you going to be if you're in the hospital, or if you have a stroke, or if you have a heart attack? You got to tell yourself, how effective am I going to be when I'm out of commission? I'm really sick with the flu or something because I didn't get enough rest, I didn't eat right, and I didn't take care of myself. That's what you have to think about and remember. You're like, there's a saying, you're no use to me dead.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and that's what you just learn that. I think the older you get, the more you realize that how important that is, and you start to listen to yourself. But you have to trust yourself and trust your instincts, because your instincts are right. That's your subconscious telling you when to rest, and you have to listen to it.
Yeah, thank you so much, William. I do have 5 rapid fire questions. I will just quickly breeze through that and then we'll round up the episode. Yeah. Are you ready for the rapid fire questions?
I love this. Go for it.
Okay. What's one habit creators should drop immediately to avoid burnout?
Instagram.
What if the creator put a post on Instagram? What should they do there?
Because it wastes time and it gets people distracted. I should have just said social media in general, but you're going into these places and they're going to empty your soul. That would be my advice. But as far as what you should avoid at all costs is
Spending your money on everybody you talk to. Oh,
meaning when you're an entrepreneur and you're a creator, you're looking to succeed, and you tend to just spend, I don't want to say frivolously, but you're spending it to have success. And that would be my first step. Stop spending money.
wow. That's an episode.
I did, and I pay the price, and I'm paying the price as we speak. But that would be my first advice. Really get a good advisor on what you should be spending it on and not.
Yeah. That's another episode for another day, honestly. Yeah. What's one habit they should start today?
Exercise. Doesn't matter what it is.
Oh, okay. What's a book, podcast, or tool that helps with mental resilience?
I have so many podcasts that now I'm like, my brain's is dead on it. But as far as books go, there's so many as well. Obviously, Positive Intelligence by Shirhat Shammi is the one. I'll send you the link to. That's a big difference maker. And anything by Eckhart Tolle, anything by Bob Proctor, just anything to really work your mind and learn about exercising your mind.
What's your biggest piece of advice for new creators?
Listen to your heart. You're doing what you're doing for a reason, and just try and dream big.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. You did not hold back, and I know listeners will find this episode valuable. Where can people find you if this resonated with them?
Oh my God, I would love to talk to them. I would love to talk to anybody. And what I'm saying is that I just want people to be happy. If it comes through my coaching, that would be incredible. However, if it doesn't come from me, that would be incredible as well. I just want happy people. But if you want to reach me, it's BILL at riversedge.ai. And my website is safeharborcoaching.info. And I'll definitely supply you all this information after this.
Today's episode of Wisdom Journey. I hope it gave you something to think about or helped you feel a little less alone on your own path as a creator. If you'd like to support what I am building, you can head over to buymeacoffee.com/wisdomhq and literally buy me a coffee. It keeps the show going and means a lot. Also, don't forget to join my newsletter. The link is in the show notes. We share deeper reflection, tools I'm using, behind the scenes updates, and lessons I don't always get to cover on the podcast. It's free and it's where the real conversations continue. Thanks for being here, and I will catch you in the next one. On keep building, keep learning, and keep showing up.